I tell the stories of old homes because I know what it feels like to be overlooked. I've told a lot of stories about old houses, old cities, forgotten buildings, neighborhoods people wrote off, places that were still standing even after everybody stopped looking. But I don't think I've ever really told you why I care so much. Not the real estate bio version, not the polished version, not the version you put on a website when you're trying to sound like you have it all figured out. The real version. Because the truth is, I think I was drawn to old homes because I understood what it felt like to be overlooked. I understood what it felt like to have history that people didn't always understand. I understood what it felt like to still be standing, but not really know what came next. And maybe that's why I've spent so much of my life chasing old houses, old streets, old cities, and old stories. Because somewhere along the way, I realized I wasn't trying to restore every old house myself. I was trying to make people see them, to document them, to tell their stories, to help them find their next chapter. And maybe, in some way, I was trying to do the same for myself. My name is Chris Hubble. I was born October 3rd, 1988. Mean Girls Day. So technically, I was born on a holiday. But I grew up at 3170 Orchard Lake Road, Lot 36 in Keagle Harbor, a lakefront trailer park on Cass Lake. And yeah, technically it was lakefront. But even the lake seemed to know which side was the trailer park. All the trash washed up on our beach. In the winter, when the plows pushed the snow down there, that same beach turned into a sledding hill. That was home. That was where I played street hockey. I was always the goalie. I loved hockey, but ice time cost money. So roller hockey was what I had. And honestly, that's kind of been the story of my life. Taking what I had and trying to make something out of it. Not because it was perfect, not because it was easy, but because it was mine. My mom's name is Tammy. My stepdad is Keith. My brother Cam is 3 years younger than me. My father's name is Rob. He struggled with alcoholism, and today, he and I no longer have a relationship. That's not something I say lightly, because there were good memories too. He lived on Cooley Lake Road in Waterford near Merrittscape, and there were times there that were fun, chaotic, wild. The kind of memories that feel warm and confusing at the same time. But there were also times where we feared for our lives because of his drinking. And when you grow up around alcoholism, you learn things you probably should not have to learn that young. You learn how to read a room before you walk into it. You learn how to listen for tone. You learn how fast the energy can change. You learn that someone can love you and still be dangerous. You learn that home is not always safe just because it has walls. And I think in a lot of ways, I've spent my whole life trying to understand what a home is supposed to feel like. Because a home is not automatically a home. A house can hold pain. A house can hold joy. A house can hold secrets. A house can hold memory. And sometimes, when the people are gone, the house is the only thing left still telling the truth. Maybe that's part of why houses started to matter so much to me. Because old houses tell the truth. They show the cracks. They show the settling. They show the repairs that worked and the repairs that didn't. They carry the weight of everyone that came before. And somehow, if they're still standing, they also carry hope. When I got older, I found bikes. Bikes gave me freedom. First it was BMX, then road bikes, and then mountain bikes. I still own my Crave rigid single-speed mountain bike because certain things just become part of you. Bikes gave me movement. They gave me identity. They gave me a way to escape without actually leaving. When I got my license, my stepdad Keith and I bought my first car. A 1996 GMC Sonoma. We paid $3,000 for it at an auto auction. I don't even remember what auction anymore, but I remember the truck. And I remember what happened next. 5 minutes after we left, the transmission went out. 5 minutes. Pretty much sums up a lot of my early adulthood. Excited to finally move forward, then immediately stuck on the side of the road. But you learn a lot from moments like that. You learn that getting the keys does not mean the road is going to be easy. You learn that the thing you thought was going to save you might break down. And sometimes, you still have to find a way to get the truck home. In 2006, BMX almost took everything from me. I was riding in South Park, Pennsylvania, and I had a crash that changed my life. I ended up in a coma, 2 crushed vertebrae, 2 plates in my jaw, a traumatic brain injury. I was 1 millimeter from being paralyzed. 1 millimeter. That kind of thing does something to you. Even when your body heals, your mind does not just go back to normal. People think survival is the end of the story, but sometimes survival is where the hardest part begins, because you wake up different. You wake up knowing life is short, and when you're young, scared, hurt, and you don't know how to process that, life being short can become a dangerous thought. For me, I think it did. I didn't drink until I was 17. I knew alcoholism ran in my family. I knew the danger was there. But once I started, I became an alcoholic pretty quickly. And I do think that crash played a role. Not as an excuse, but as part of the truth. Because when you almost lose your life that young, and you don't know what to do with that fear, sometimes life is short becomes a reason to self-destruct. Sometimes it becomes permission to stop protecting yourself. Sometimes it becomes a reason to run straight at the fire. And for a long time, that was part of my story. I got sober for nearly 9 years. Then I relapsed. And now I'm back. June 4th, 2023 is the date I hold on to. Just over 3 years without booze. And I want to say something clearly, because maybe somebody watching this needs to hear it. Recovery does not need to be perfect. It does not need to look exactly like my recovery. It does not need to look exactly like someone else's recovery. It does not need to be done my way, or their way, or the way some group of people told you it has to be done. Never stop fighting for your recovery. Ignore the cliques. Ignore the people who make you feel like your recovery is not the correct way. Ignore the people who make you feel like you don't fit in, because you do. You matter. Your recovery matters. Your life matters, and you're worth fighting for. I don't say that because I have everything figured out. I say it because I don't. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still learning. I'm still building. And maybe that's why I see old houses the way I do. Because when I walk into an old house, I don't just see cracked plaster. I don't just see bad paint. I don't just see crooked floors, old wiring, outdated kitchens, and rooms that need work. I see something that survived. I see something that still has a story. I see something that may have been neglected, misunderstood, written off, but not worthless. Never worthless. And my job is not always to restore it with my own hands. My job is to tell a story well enough that somebody else sees what I see, to document it before it disappears, to market it with respect, to sell it with context, to help the right person understand why it matters. Because in real estate, especially with historic homes, you are not just selling rooms. You're selling memory, craftsmanship, neighborhood, legacy, a sense of place, a chance for the next chapter. Before real estate, I spent 12 years at Cycle Therapy Bike Shop in Waterford. That place shaped me more than I probably understood at the time. Retail management taught me how to talk to people, how to solve problems, how to build trust, how to create a feeling when someone walks through the door, how to make somebody feel like they belong. And while I was there, I built the BMX mail order side of the business. We were trying to compete with companies like Elby's, and somehow, this thing I built did around $250,000 in sales in its first year. That mattered, because it showed me something. It showed me I could build something. Not just dream about it, not just talk about it, actually build it. With no perfect roadmap, no perfect timing, no guarantee that it would work. Just an idea, a lot of effort, and enough belief to keep pushing. I didn't realize it then, but psychotherapy was preparing me for everything I'm doing now. Retail, community, local business, storytelling, branding, culture, People walking into a place and feeling like they found something real. All of that started there. Then I bought my first house, 68 Mary Day Avenue in Pontiac, a 1900s historic colonial in the Franklin Boulevard Historic District. That house changed my life. It wasn't perfect, neither was I. But when I walked into it, something clicked. I saw old woodwork, I saw character, I saw history, I saw a house that had survived long enough to still be standing. And I think part of me saw myself in it. While I was purchasing that house, the light bulb went off. I started taking my real estate course. I was still at the bike shop, but something in me had shifted. I knew I could not keep doing the same thing forever. I knew there was something else pulling me forward. And just after closing on that house, during the Woodward Dream Cruise, I quit the bike shop. I was terrified. I had no big safety net, no perfect plan. Just this feeling that if I didn't jump, I was going to spend the rest of my life wondering what would have happened if I did. So I started walking Woodward Avenue during the Dream Cruise, interrupting people who were just trying to watch classic cars so that I can market my brand new real estate career, which is funny to think back on now, because there I was, this tattooed bike shop guy walking up to strangers during one of the busiest car events in Michigan, basically saying, "Hey, I sell houses now." It was awkward. It was scary. It was probably not smooth at all, but it was real. And that's how I started. I got licensed in 2017, but I never wanted to be just another real estate agent. I didn't want to stand in front of a house, point at countertops, and call that marketing. I wanted to tell the story. The house, the neighborhood, the architecture, the people, the rise, the fall, the comeback. I wanted to talk about why places matter, why old streets matter, why a front porch, an original staircase, a cracked piece of tile, or an old city block could carry more meaning than a brand new room with no memory. That became History Loves Company. That became Pontiac Pulse. That became Streets of History. That became the videos, the documentaries, the walking tours, the listings, the weird old houses, the forgotten buildings, the stories people told me that I should stop caring about, but I couldn't. Because I know what it feels like to be underestimated. I know what it feels like when people see the rough edges first. The tattoos, the cages, the past, the mistakes, the relapse, the trailer park, the crash, the financial stress, the house that needs work, the city that gets written off, the person who does not look like the version of success that people expected. My tattoos and my 34mm gauges are part of that too. They're self-expression. They're my way of saying I'm not trying to become some cleaned up version of somebody else. I'm trying to become the most honest version of myself. And that is what I want History Loves Company to be. Honest, grounded, a little rough around the edges, but real. Because old homes are real. Old cities are real. Recovery is real. Fatherhood is real. Fear is real. Faith is real. And trying to build something when you are not completely sure how you're going to make it all work is very, very real. I'm a marathon runner now. I've completed 2 marathons, I've DNF'd 1, my PR is 350, and running has taught me a lot about life. You can train, you can prepare, you can show up, you can do everything right and still fall apart, and then you can come back. That's the lesson that keeps showing up in my life. Come back. Old homes can come back into view. Old cities can come back into the conversation. Forgotten stories can come back to life. People can come back. I can come back. And then there's Kit. My son was born August 30th, 2016. He is all things pure in this world. He reminds me that there is something worth fighting for. When I don't feel like I'm enough, he reminds me that I have to keep going. When I'm scared, he reminds me that courage is not about being fearless. It's about having something that matters more than the fear. He is the reminder that my life is not just about what happened to me. It's about what I choose to build from here. I also have a dog named Blade. And anybody who has had a dog through hard seasons knows what that means. That quiet presence, that loyal shadow, that reminder to get up, go outside, keep moving, and not take every bad day as the final word. And now, all of this has led to the Foundry. The Foundry is not just a store. It is not just a creator market. It is not just a vintage mercantile. It is not just real estate, retail, content, events, small business, or old stuff in a cool building. It is the culmination of every career I've ever had and every life I've ever lived. The bike shop, the BMX world, retail management, historic homes, Pontiac, real estate, storytelling, recovery, community, all of it. The Foundry is a place for people who are still becoming something. Artists, makers, collectors, small businesses, people with an idea but not a storefront yet. People who need a shelf, a pod, a wall, a room, a camera, a community, a chance. That's why the line is, start small, grow downtown. Because that's my story too. I started small. Lot 36, a busted GMC Sonoma, a bike shop, a BMX crash, a relapse, a house on Merry Day, a camera, a story, a storefront in downtown Pontiac, and now this. And I want to be honest, right now, financially, I'm not alright. And I think that's okay to admit out loud, because too many people only tell the story after everything works out. They wait until the money is there, until the building is perfect, until the business is safe, until the comeback has already happened. But I'm still in the middle of it. I'm still building. I'm still scared often. I'm still trying to figure out how to carry all of this. And I still have faith that I'll be just fine, because everything works out exactly as it should. Maybe not when you want it to, or when I want it to. Maybe not how you pictured it. Maybe not without fear. Maybe not without failure. But somehow, if you keep going, the story keeps writing itself. I still own 68 Merry Day today. It's a rental property now, and I have this dream of collecting historic homes, which is kind of funny. From trailer park kid to a home collector. Yeah, I mean, who knows, maybe one day, but for now, I'm building what I can with what I have. That's what I've always done. That's what my life has always required. Take what you have, tell the truth, keep moving, build something with it. History Loves Company is not just about old homes. It's about remembering that people matter, places matter, stories matter. The things that survive matter. The things with scars matter. The things that need work matter. Every home's a story. Let's discover yours. That line means more to me now than it ever has. Because it's not just about houses. It's about people. It's about cities. It's about families. It's about recovery. It's about the parts of ourselves we thought were too damaged to be useful, too complicated to be loved, too far gone to be seen. And I don't believe that anymore. I don't believe old homes are worthless because they need work. I don't believe old cities are finished because they've been through hard times. And I don't believe people are disposable because they have a past. I tell the stories of old homes because I know what it feels like to be overlooked. I document forgotten places because I know what it feels like to want someone to notice you. I sell historic homes because I believe the right next owner is not just buying a property. They're becoming part of the story. And I built the Foundry because I believe people do not need to be finished to be worth supporting. They just need to be somewhere to begin. I'm Chris Hubble. I'm a father. I'm sober. I'm tattooed. I'm a runner. I'm a real estate agent. I'm a historic home storyteller. I'm the founder of History Loves Company. I'm building the Foundry in downtown Pontiac. And I still believe old homes, old cities, and old souls are worth noticing. Because sometimes being seen is where the next chapter begins. So if you're still in the middle of your story too, keep going. You're not finished yet.